How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. Tonight, we are doing another segment on Get to Know That Cosplayer, and tonight's featured guest is, what handle do you prefer going by again? I forgot to ask that before recording.
Just call me Jacob is fine.
Okay, Jacob, sounds good. So basically this, segment for Cosplay Con Talks, get to know that cosplayers to learn about how you got into cosplay, how long you've been doing it, talk about the type of cosplays you've done, and stuff like that. To begin, how long have you been cosplaying for?
I believe around 10 years. My first convention was around 2009, 2010.
Nice. Do you remember what your very first convention was?
Yes, I do. My first convention was SoccerCon in Seattle. I was 16 at the time. My buddy and a couple of his friends talked me into going to a convention because they had been going to cons for several years, and they talked me into going, saying I'd have a great time, and so out I went.
So you're definitely in that category of cosplay veterans. I feel like if you've been cosplaying and going to conventions for more than 10 years, you've definitely seen that change in the cosplay and convention community.
Oh, definitely. It's worlds different now from the way it used to be.
Oh, you know, I completely agree on that. Do you remember what your very first cosplay was for that con?
Um, I, it's kind of funny to look back on now because it wasn't an actual character per se. Um, my buddy was just saying just cosplay whatever, and I wanted to have something, and so with some help from my mother, I made together basically a Chinese like warrior outfit from from a pattern from a simplicity pattern back in the day, and I wore that and got it all made, and I was super proud of it. And people were constantly asking, "Well, what are you cosplaying?" I'm like, I honestly don't know, to be honest with you.
Hey, you could have said you're cosplaying from someone from Dynasty Warriors.
I had a couple of people ask that, but yeah, I wore it just that one con and learned my lesson, and I'm pretty sure it's sitting in a closet somewhere, but I
it's
haven't worn it since.
it's kind of that one. No, actually, you just answered my question of one I usually ask about a one and done cosplay. So I imagine that Chinese warrior was kind of a one and done, just never done again kind of thing.
Very much so.
Um, so what's it been like cosplaying and going to conventions for the past decade?
It's definitely been a lot of changes over the years, and if I'm being honest, I think a lot of those changes were for the better. Because like you don't see there used to be people that did like glomp circles, and back in the day,
that word. Oh,
yeah. And for those that don't know, back in the day, a glomp circle, they have them at cons now, but it's like a very light, like you throw the bottle, and then you go and you give someone like a very like light hug,
mm-hmm.
maybe. Back in the day, it was a full running football tackle to whoever you needed to, and it could get pretty intense.
Yeah.
Um,
Same with yaoi paddles.
yeah, and those also have long since gone away. Um, and I think a lot of it's because people didn't feel safe.
And people get
Um,
seriously hurt too.
yeah, and then you also have people that existed that were more touchy feely than they should have been, and
Hmm.
it and honestly, con safety and health and well-being are much more important in my opinion. So I'm glad that those changes have come about.
Yeah, just
I
like the old saying goes, cosplay does not equal consent.
very much so. See, what are some of the other ones like? You, I have an old card game that I was one of the very first things I ever got at a convention, and it was called Whack a Cat Girl. And I bring it out to conventions every now and then just to show people what the old con community used to
Whack
be
a
like.
cat girl? What? I've
It
never heard of that saying before, and I've known about cosplay and conventions for the past 13 years.
it's it was a card game that was made by a very small company. They are still in business. You can still buy the game. You have to go through a bunch of channels to get it. But it's just the game is just it's filled with old tropes very old tropes. There's like the Glomp Me cards. There's the Cat Girl cards. The Yowie panel cards. Like it's just a flashback to the way things used to be. Because like back then, like you could damn near throw a paper airplane and hit like a cat girl or a cat boy because everyone was running around with cat ears.
I'm looking at it right now. Whack a Cat Girl is a card game with a simple concept. Neko-chan, the cat girl, is cute, therefore she must be pelted with various objects, plushies, buckets of water, other fangirls, you name it.
Yeah, it's a product of its time, but it's one of those things you look at it now and it's just like, oh, well, what is this? But like if you were around during that time, there's so many of those old tropes in there that just bring back
Oh,
memories.
jeez.
It's a bad it
For anyone who's listening to this, I'll be showing a picture, a picture of what the card game looks like. You feel free to look it up yourself if you want.
yeah, it was
Oh,
a product
jeez.
of its time and it it's fun to kind of bring out and kind of show people that are newer just so you can be like this is what it used to be like. Um but
It's
yeah,
definitely a lot more tame now, so to speak.
oh, definitely.
So what was it like going to your first con?
I was very overwhelmed because for those that have been to SoccerCon in Seattle, it's not a small con by any means. Um, and so your first convention, I had never been to a Comic-Con or anything that way. So stepping out and just with all of the people and all of the cosplay and people running around and having your guidebook of panels, it's 7 pages long. It's a lot to take in, and they I don't know how strict it is nowadays in this manner, but I was 16, so I was a minor, and the way it worked back then was your parents had to show up. They basically had to sign some paperwork and say like I'm releasing custody of you. And then if there was someone at the con who was over 18, they could essentially sign you over to them and they were your quote unquote guardians for the con. And you were supposed to stay with that person. They were supposed to watch over you, yada yada. Yeah, that didn't happen at all. Um,
Yeah,
I
here's my kid. You watching for this con? I'm not going to be here.
yeah, and like I was signed over to my friend who was 18, barely 18, and we got away from the sign-ins and registration, and then it was like, okay, I'm gone. If you need me, you know my phone number. Bye. And so I got to roam the con basically free as a bird and get to kind of learn what the con experience was like first and foremost.
Um, one question I always ask about if about cons is what kind of advice would you give for first time con goers, whether they decide to either go to cosplay or just see what the con's like in general.
I think the biggest thing I can say is relax. There's a lot of people that are out there to have a good time. I've been to many conventions, and the atmosphere always seems to be that same. We're out to have fun. We want to make friends. We want to like learn about the stuff you enjoy. Um, it always has felt a very tolerant place because you have people in the LGBT community. You've got all of the different cosplay communities, genres. Um, you can find people that like the same things you do. So it's just a very welcoming place. As always, take your proper safety precautions and, don't get in some guy's van if he wants to take you out for dinner or whatever. But feel free to talk to your fellow con goers. They want to have a good time. And I know a lot of people that are cosplayers are very shy in general, typically. But go out, make some friends, have fun. Go to an improv panel. You'd be surprised how much of people's personalities come out in improv panels.
I have never heard of improv panels before. Like, actually, I think I have from an interview I did a few months ago. Mind telling me what an improv panel at a con is?
So they're around. I think the big ones that I remember from growing up was like the the Whose Line Is It Anyway panels.
Oh, okay.
Um, so a lot of your improv panels are um, if you've ever been in theater, a lot of those theater games still are used where you have a prompt to, and say it starts off with like two people and it's red light, green light, and two people will start off a scene and they'll be doing whatever to start the prompt, and then anyone at the audience can anytime can say red light, and then whatever the people are doing stop, and the person can go up, swap it up, and completely change the dialogue, what the scene is, whatever, and it's just thinking on your feet. And I've had a lot of really fun tear-filled laughter shenanigans in those types of panels. Um, so yeah, if there's one at a con, I recommend going to them. They tend to be a lot of fun.
That's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, something I always ask all cosplayers, not special, what are your thoughts on thrifting, especially if you're a cosplayer or you're a new cosplayer on a budget?
Oh, do it. Absolutely do it. I have never bought a full-blown cosplay off of like a cosplay website or anything like that. If that's what you want to do to get your cosplay and you have the money to do it, whatever makes you happy. I think the big thing with cosplaying is doing what makes you happy. And like I've had some cosplays that were about as budget as they get. Um, but you'd be surprised how many people will still recognize you and they'll still want your picture, or you'll make more friends that way. I think a big thing in the cosplay community that really needs to be pushed is to accept people no matter what their cosplay level is, because a lot of the professionals were, well, beginners at one point.
I mean, yeah, Kamoya Cosplay, Jessica Nigri, Yaya Han, all of them.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of really great memories with like younger kids that are coming out, and their parents are with them and they're dressing up in their Halloween costumes. And everybody loves them anyway, and I think that's kind of the mentality we just need to continue to promote.
Oh,
It does.
I wholeheartedly agree on that.
Yeah. So I definitely think if you find something at a thrift shop and you're like, how can I change this? How can I modify this to get what I want? Do it. There's no reason to spend a lot of money to go out and have a good time.
Oh no,
I
most definitely.
I like one that comes to my mind is I have the SpongeBob pirate painting. That is my all-time favorite cosplay that I've done, and I had maybe all of $10 into it because it was a thrift store.
You made that yourself?
Yes, I did.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's
And
a photo that we actually are using for the thumbnail for this.
yeah, I made that myself. Everything in there is essentially thrift shop. It's um like a cardboard back from like a craft store. I bought a thrift store painting that was like $2. I cut down the frame, and then I traced on the paper the image in pencil, and then I used acrylics, which are dirt cheap, to paint it. And so it just kind of emphasized my point is you can make cosplay at whatever money value you want. It's just whatever you're comfortable with and want to do.
If you don't mind me asking, how long did that take you to make?
Um, I think I spent maybe a day and a half, maybe if that. And when I say a day and a half, that's very, very generous. Like I spent, an hour here and then took like a 3 hour break and then an hour here. It didn't take me that long. Usually for me, I can do things by eye fairly well so long as I have a reference image.
I mean, looking at it right now, like on the picture, it looked like it was really fun to make, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone, as far as I know from what I've seen online, I don't think I've ever seen anyone do the whole SpongeBob pirate painting from the intro.
Yeah, I'm the only person I've met who's done it. But yeah, it's been my favorite cosplay. I have gotten so much heart from from people, and it just brings out the best in everyone I've met while I've been wearing it. Because it's one of those things where a lot of times, like people that have never been to cons, or like even people just walking on the street, they'll see it and they'll know who it is, and then they're asking questions like, "What are you doing? Is there something going on?" And it's just a very like all ages, all backgrounds cosplay that people just enjoy.
No, no, again, I have to agree on that. I believe, as everyone will probably agree, that cosplay is for everyone. Nice. So next question. Out of your years of cosplaying, have you ever had a cosplay that something like happened, like it ripped, snapped, tore, it just fell apart while either getting ready for a con or going to a con?
I wouldn't say anything along that lines. I had a cosplay that I distinctly remember. I was only able to wear it for a couple of hours just because I didn't anticipate a couple things with it. Um, it was a character from Hit Kyo Hitman Reborn. It was a character from the manga. They wore a full black floor length coat, and they had bandages on their face and a top hat and the whole 9 yards, and their hands were wrapped. And I did this cosplay, and I tried it on, like I wore it around the house. I felt comfortable in it. But when cosplay time came at the convention, it was like 90 degrees, and I'm wearing all black, multiple layers. My skin is completely covered, and I was dying of heat. And I wore it for a couple hours, and I told my friends that I was with, I'm like, I need to go back to the hotel room and get out of this. I'm dying. Um, because it was so bad, like I hardly even had room to get like a water bottle to my lips to drink because I had so much gauze on my face. So yeah, it's very important that you know the limits of your cosplays. I know a lot of people that wear the big bulky armors, while they look really, really cool, a lot of those people can't bend their knees, they can't bend over,
Go to the
they can't
bathroom.
go to the bathroom. So yeah.
I mean, that's why you have a handler with you if you're going to be doing a over the top cosplay, I think.
It would be a good thing to have, to be sure.
Oh, jeez. I just can't imagine, you're wearing, especially fursuiters, they're wearing all this, extra layer, and they got to be sweating. I mean,
I
any cosplayer. I guess some advice is, for doing like a big cosplay like that. What kind of advice would you want to give for first timers who think, who are want to try to make, their first cosplay one of them big over the top cosplays?
I would say start small. Um, it's kind of one of those things when you take undergo any big project, is don't invest everything all at once. Test your limits. Say if you want to do a big bulky something, start with like an armor piece, like a corner or a shoulder pad or something, and get the techniques down and figure out how you best want to go about it. Because it's kind of the same thing. I grew up in like a mechanic's household, and the last thing you want is to buy a car and then start taking everything apart and then realize you're in over your head, and then at that point you're already way over the top, and you lose your enthusiasm, and then it sits on the side. Just take it one little bit at a time.
Oh yeah, no. Oh no, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this. I think what most young cosplayers or cosplayers who are new to um, this fandom hobby is that you don't need to, like, your first cosplay doesn't need to be over the top just because there's these cosplay you see these cosplayers that are making these big armored cosplays. I was like talking to someone a while back who made a full-on Megazord cosplay
Ooh.
from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers,
Hmm.
and I think you know these people have been doing this for a long time, or they have the skill. If you're not, if you know you're not mentally and physically prepared to make that big cosplay, don't do it. You don't have to be like, oh, this is what cosplay is. I need to do that. Like, no. Start small and simple and then slowly work your way up. If you feel confident and you know can do it, then do it. But if you don't know what you're doing, start with something simple. Go to thrift stores, go to Amazon, something. Start
I
small.
I would like to add on to this that there's a lot of different like ways to cosplay, and I think one of the simplest ones is the I've always heard it referred to as casual cosplay,
Yep.
and that's just
Or
where
or
even if
closet
you
cosplay.
closet cosplay, if there's a character you want to do, and you can get a wig and style it for that character, and then you wear school clothes, or you wear a suit and tie, or
Exactly.
whatever. The one I distinctly remember the most in this regard was um back in, I'd say, 2012. There were so many people that did L from Death Note because all it was a white shirt top and black bottoms
Yep.
and a black wig, and that was it.
I take it you were one of those L cosplayers.
Oh, no, no, not me, but there were plenty of them.
I remember seeing a few, the white thermal sweater, the grayish blue, the greenish bluish jeans, and of course,
Yeah,
the wig and the eyeliner.
yeah. It was a very simple cosplay, and then like when Bleach was really popular back in its heyday, there were a bunch of Ichigos that just, had the wig and then just clothes. That was all they had. They didn't necessarily have like the how do I say it? Show appropriate whatever,
Right.
but they were out having a grand old time, and they could go out with the other Bleach cosplayers, and you still knew who it was and what they were doing.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, I think that's like the best thing about casual cosplaying. You just throw on you. Well, I mean, I know there's just more than throwing on the wig, but you wear any regular clothes, you throw on the wig, and sometimes people will recognize it, which I think is like the best thing.
Yeah.
You don't have
So
to put in a whole lot of effort.
I think a lot of my cosplays, I've never done anything I would say extravagant. A lot of my cosplays have come from like finding a single piece of clothing and seeing like what I could do with that, and immediately my brain going, I could do this person or whatever. One that comes to mind, I did a human version of Twitch from League of Legends, and he had a gangster skin in the game, and I was on eBay one night, and someone was selling a pinstripe zoot suit for $10. And I saw that, and I'm like, I can use that. Got paid $10, and then that was the piece that just set me off. And from there, it was really simple. I just had black pants. I had a white shirt, which most people, if they're going out for job interviews, have a tie. And then I did like some face makeup, and I made a tail out of some really cheap fabric, and it was a great cosplay. I really enjoyed that one.
Okay, I'm looking up Twitch right now. They're like a rat type character.
They are a rat. He is a rat in the game, and I had seen at the time cosplayers that made the full rat suit, kind of like a fursuit, and that was not for me. And so what I just did was I put on some gray face paint. I used like a black eyeliner, and I made little dots on my cheeks for like the whiskers, and drew little whiskers on my face and blackened my nose a bit. And I was basically a rat.
Yeah, no, I'm
Um,
I'm looking at some humanized versions of Twitch from League of Legends as well. So yeah.
and that's another thing. Like, um, one of those big things I also encourage is don't let your gender or anything that way stop you from cosplaying a character. Gender bending exists for a reason. If there's a character that you really love and you want to cosplay that character, do it. It's very very big, and I try to promote this all the time. It's body positive, gender positive, whatever you want to do, go do it. Be happy and do what you want.
Oh no,
And I
most definitely.
and
Uh,
I think the big one that always comes to mind is I have seen every single version of Sailor Moon you can possibly imagine. And
I think, and I'm not meaning any kind of negativity on this. I think, any convention you'll go to, and again, this isn't, this isn't directed hate or anything. I think it's, uncommon if you go to a convention and there's not a Sailor Moon cosplayer there.
well, I mean, it is one of the classics, and it's loved by a lot of people.
I mean,
And
every convention there's got to be a Sailor Moon cosplay, just like how there's got to be a Deadpool cosplay at a convention.
mm, that's another thing is like growing up and doing all these different years of cosplay is I've watched all of your big cosplays change over the years. Um, because back when I started, there was just Bleach was really really big, Naruto was really really big, Inuyasha
Death
and
Note,
Death Note, and you could see those cosplays everywhere.
Black Butler, Helsing.
But
Yeah, no.
and
It was
nowadays,
your mid 2000s the mid 2000s cosplays, the animes that were so big everyone had a cosplay someone from one of those animes.
and it's been really interesting watching how that's changed over the years. Because those ones die out over time, and new things become popular. Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia. Oh my gosh, the list just goes on and on as animes change.
Oh yeah,
But
no. And I again, I have to agree on that. It's like every few years there's gonna be those kind of cosplays that you see from something new. Like as soon as even before it comes, like for example, when you hear about a new video game, the game's not out yet, and you already see people on Instagram posting that character, and and it's not even out yet. It's like there's your trend. There's a trend starter. Everyone's got to now want to cosplay that character.
so yeah, that's another thing that's been really fun for me to watch over the years. And every now and then you'll see someone who just started an older anime and they love a character and they cosplay from it, and then everyone's happy to see that character again because it's like, oh, I loved that anime.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes back to that everyone's out to have a good time and enjoy themselves, and I think it's always a good thing to see.
Exactly. Now, about some of your other cosplays you've done, what's that one cosplay that you haven't done in so long that you would like to bring it back?
Mm. Let me think about that for a moment.
It's it's a question that I think stumps everyone because they always say that every cosplay they've done is their favorite, or some don't want to bring it back because it was so good. But I feel like some people do have that one favorite cosplay.
I I haven't done as many as a lot of bigger cosplayers because I grew up on a budget with not a lot of money, and so for me, I had like one. I would invest all my time and what finances I had into like one cosplay, and then I'd wear it to like two, three cons, and then I would stop, and then I would think, what's my next move? I think one that maybe I might I wish I could kind of go back to just because I liked it. It was super comfy to wear. I had a Fallout survivor from the Fallout video game genre that I really enjoyed, but Fallout isn't as big as it used to be, but I really enjoyed that cosplay because it was just these like big baggy coveralls. They were super comfy. There was plenty of air room. I could wear whatever footwear I wanted. Also, whenever you think about cosplay, think about the fact that you're going to be on your feet all day.
Make sure to wear comfy shoes.
Several of my cosplays, I had to wear black dress shoes, and being on your feet in those for 8 hours or more a day, I would go back to my hotel room and just my feet would just be killing me. So just keep that in mind. That is a veteran cosplayer tip for whoever's listening.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of what cosplayers need to realize, especially new cosplayers, is if you're gonna cosplay a character, especially if it's whether you're male or female, if you're gonna wear a cosplay that requires heels and you've never worn heels before, or any type of new shoe, break them in like before the con, so when you're walking around the con, you're not going to get blisters on your feet.
Would definitely agree with that.
I think is highly recommended. So aside from your SpongeBob pirate painting cosplay, what other cosplay would you say was your favorite to do?
Hmm. I think my Twitch was one of my favorites just because I had a lot of fun memories making that, and I made some really good friends through that. And the photo shoot that followed, um, and it also put me into some touch with some really like big cosplayers that do this, I would say, almost professionally, and they've kind of given me some really good advice on like crafting and that sort of thing. So I think that one speaks very fondly of me, and I think I do have to say though the pirate painting is hands down my favorite, just because getting I at one point had staff tell me to stop doing the song because I had I was outside of a panel, and if you go to conventions, there's sometimes really long waits.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just a bunch of people, and I was sitting there with my painting, and one of the guys is like, "Do the song," and I was like, "I don't really want to do the song," and they're like, "Do the song," and like it echoed like slowly to like 10 people, and I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I started the song off, and there were probably 300 people waiting outside this panel, and they all sang, and it was just one of my favorite memories just because of how big it was and how loud. But after I finished, like one of the I'm gonna call him an admin stepped out of the room, is like, "Can you please not do that again? Like we couldn't hear our panelist on the inside."
Yeah, and to kind of add to that, I think people need to realize it's kind of like the kind of along the line of cosplay is not consent. If you're a cosplayer and someone sees you and they ask you to do something from that shows, like, you have every right to say no just because they're like, oh yeah, it's my favorite character. I want you to just like no. If they say no, please respect that because they may not want to do it, or they probably did it earlier in the day and they just don't want to.
Yeah, I was definitely having to turn people down. The first time I wore that cosplay, I sang so much that my throat went completely raw. And the second day, like people were like, "Can you do the thing?" I was like, "No, no, absolutely not. I'm sorry to disappoint, but I can't."
So, to the young cosplayers listening to this, just because you may see someone cosplaying your favorite character doesn't mean you should annoy them or bug them about doing you know saying a certain line or doing a certain pose, especially if they've done it earlier in the day. And if they say no, please respect their wishes, because again, they could be tired, they may be leaving the con, they could be eating, so yeah.
Another big one I'd like to tack onto this is always ask permission to take a photo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because you never know. Some people are very self-conscious about their cosplay, how they're looking, how they're feeling. And if you ask someone, "Can I take your photo?" They may say yes, they may say no, but it's important to always ask.
Oh yeah, no. um a interview podcast I did a while back, the thing they said was, and I could be quoting this wrong, but it says, they were saying, kind of about this related to this, topic of photos, but on the floor, photos no more. Basically, if you're a cosplayer sitting and eating or whatever, no, don't go and ask him for a photo.
I'd say that would be a fairly good general rule of thumb, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, two more questions before we end this one.
Sure.
Um, any cosplays you're looking forward to doing in the future? Like, you haven't done them yet, but you would like to do them.
Well, I did a um a Fire Force cosplay here right before COVID hit. I would like to wear that one out again. Um, but yeah, I think I would like to tackle. I'm in a much better place than I was several years ago, and I'm starting to think I would like to tackle a bigger cosplay project. So I have been thinking about what I would want to do in that regards. So I'm not exactly sure what yet, but I'm definitely thinking I want to get into Warbler and
EVA
those
foam and
other
all this.
alternatives, EVA foam.
Nice.
Um, like I said, I don't know what I would like to do yet, but it is on my upcoming list of projects.
That'd be pretty good. And again, for those who are listening, if you're considering on getting into Warbler or EVA foam, if you know any friends who cosplay and who use it, feel free to ask them. Also, um, any questions, advice, feel free to YouTube. YouTube's your best friend.
Yeah, I've also there's a not a cosplay, a convention out that I've always wanted to go to in Georgia. That's a fantasy book convention, and that's something I've always kind of wanted to attend because I love my fantasy novels and I would love to cosplay from one of those. But usually, if you go to um, like a Comic Con as an anime character, you're less likely to be noticed versus if you go to an anime convention, there's more people that understand that genre, and so that you're more likely to get noticed.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no. And
the same
sometimes
thing,
and sometimes if you're lucky, you'll go to an anime convention and you'll see people like 50, 60 people cosplaying as comic book characters.
yeah. So it's one of those things where it's just um, know your audience. If you're one of those people that you want to impress people, you want to get your photos taken, just be prepared that your specific people that know your character, if you're doing something slightly off the beaten path, you may not get the recognition that you want, and sometimes that happens. That Hitman Reborn character that I did, I put a lot of effort into that, and I loved it. And I took it out to convention, and only one person at any point recognized me.
That's a Hitman Reborn. That's Xbox era, if I'm not mistaken, like original Xbox.
No, the Hitman Reborn I'm talking about is an anime
Oh,
back
Hitman.
from 2000. I want to say 2011.
Okay, when I heard Hitman Reborn, I was automatic. My mind went to Agent 47 from Hitman.
Oh no, the Hitman Reborn I was talking about was an anime series that I think it got 3 seasons, maybe. Um, but the character I really liked was from the manga. The anime never got
Oh,
that far.
I remember this anime now.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
jeez.
that was one of those ones that it burned bright for a very short time and then it was done.
Yeah, I vaguely remember Hitman Reborn. Like I seen like probably one episode of it because I was like, "What the is this?"
Yeah,
Oh, geez, yeah, I remember seeing this like on. Wow, okay, that shows how old I am.
yeah, I understand your pain. I really do. It's like every now and then, like I'll go to a convention and like someone will have like a Cowboy Bebop cosplay, and someone will be like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm old."
No, no, how dare you say ask that question? So to end this podcast episode, any last minute advice, um, you'd like to share for those who are listening, for first time cosplayers or convention goers? Because you like, not even me asking, you answered like a good chunk of the questions I was going to ask already.
Um, I would say feel free to step out of your comfort zone. There's a lot of panels that you might look at it on paper and say, I don't know if I want to go do this. You'd be surprised how many panels I've gone to that I thought I'm not going to like this. And then I went to it and just the community was just hilarious or the discussions were really good. One that I remember very distinctly, there was I there's sometimes at cons there's a lot of downtime and you have certain panels that you've got your eyes set on, but they don't start till certain times. and so you might have downtime that you need to wait. And there was a panel that was going on in one room that I was near, and all the pamphlet said was robots.
Wait,
And I was like,
like robots?
yeah, like ROBUTTS. And I'm like, what in the
Robots?
world is this? And all the description said was, come talk about your favorite robots. And I'm like, what is this? And so I went in, and it was literally darn near a like fandom panel, like discussing who your favorite robots, cyborgs were, and then following that up with trying to find like a back shot of them. Like, for instance, like fan drawn pictures of like Connor from like Detroit Become Human, and it's just like the people made that panel so funny. And like one guy was like, but my favorite of all was Optimus Prime, and it's just like, oh my goodness. Um, so yeah, I would say feel free, just step out of your comfort zone. You never know what people are going to do. And then I've gone to panels where I went in and thinking this is going to be great, and I went in there and it just wasn't fun. And that's another thing. If you don't enjoy a panel, feel free to get up and go find something else you're going to want to do. Um, Also, if you ever need to just like sit and chill, there's usually like gaming rooms or card rooms at conventions. Those are usually really great places to just relax, maybe play a board game, catch a breather, sit down, drink some water. Also, always stay hydrated, very important.
Oh, I completely agree on that. It's you got to make sure you're staying hydrated, you're staying fed. Also, hygiene. After you're done with a
Oh,
con,
please,
after you're done with a con,
please.
or before you go to con, make sure to shower because no one wants to walk by a smelly Goku or smelly Congo or any kind of smelly character because I mean, just shower, please.
I 100% agree with that, please.
But yeah, I can't stress that enough. As once said in I want to say it was either the convention safety, the convention safety and awareness podcast panel I did a while back. As one of the panelists said, "Wash your ass."
Solid advice. Hopefully, I. It's one of those things. If you were ever in middle school and you walk down your middle school hallway and it smells bad, that should be the personal, like, this is what I don't want at my convention. Use deodorant, take showers. Also, very big off that one. Deodorant does not replace showers.
Nope. Nope, nope, no. I'm the kind of person, if I go to a convention, like, before I get ready I'll take my shower, and then when I'm done, I go straight back to my hotel or motel, wherever I'm staying at, and I immediately turn the shower on and just, get ready to take it because I've been walking all day, I've been sweating, and I want to feel fresh and nice the next day when I go for day two.
Um, I will throw a con safety thing out there, and that's if you're going to a convention, I understand we all sometimes need to save money by sharing rooms with people. Um, Make sure you know who you are staying with and you understand the risks involved. Um, because so much like before a convention, like I'll see on like the different web pages on Facebook or what have you, and people are saying, "Hey, I've got this room space available. Message me if you want a room with me." Just know what you're getting yourself into and have all of your safety precautions necessary. If there's a phone number that you can press to call a friend if you need help, just keep all that in mind. No con is worth your personal safety.
I 100% agree on that. Wholeheartedly. I think that should do. I think not only covered about your cosplay experience and convention experience, but also, covered a good chunk of, cosplay and convention safety. And again, Jacob, thank you for being a guest on this episode for Cosplay Con Talks. Get to know that cosplayer. And if anyone has any questions or would like to know more about the cosplayer, with your permission, if put linked to any of her social medias in the description below.
Um, yeah, I don't mind. I've got my face out there and up on various things, so.
Well, thank you again, Jacob, for being another cosplay guest on Cosplay Con Talk. Get to know that cosplayer.
All right, thank you so much for having me. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. And as always, I am Wayne the Unknown. Thank you for listening, and as always, and until next time, thank you for watching.